Good evening. This is Morkif Radio from Sweden. Welcome to We Are Turkmen TV show. Somebody always asking me, who are Turkmen? What is the Turkmen geography? Where are from? And others questions. Some of them asking, what does Turkmen word mean? What is the difference between Iraqi Turkmen and Iraqi Turkish? We will know all this, the answer of all those with our guest. Our guest this evening, he is very special guest. He lives in England, but now he visiting Kirkuk. He with us, Mr. Moufak Salman. Welcome to you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
We know you're writer and researcher, but you're writing in English about the Turkmen.
Yes.
Please tell something about yourself.
My name is Moufak Salman Karkukli. I was born in the city of Altınköprü in 1960. I did my degree at Oxford Brookes University in England. I did my BSc in electronic engineering, and after that I did MSc in medical electronic and physics at London University. Then I did second MSc in computing science information technology at South Bank University. Currently I am working as a product and process engineering for a Trump laser company in United Kingdom in Rugby. As I said, I like writing, and I am also a researcher about the Turkmen history in Iraq.
Why about the Turkmen?
Well, to be honest with you, Turkmen...
Maybe because you're Turkmen?
No, I am a Turkmen. As I said, my both parents are Turkmen. I was born in Iraq, and I was forced by the Iraqi government to leave the country for the political reason. Because the Turkmen, they have been subjected to a lot of abuse and marginalization by the previous Saddam Hussein government. One of the policy they used, they called Arabization policy. What they did actually, they prevent the Turkmen from having a Turkish name in Iraq. And also they prevented them from having Turkish schools, or actually call it Turkmen schools. And all their land, agricultural land, have been taken by the Arab farmers, because the Iraqi government issued a legislation to transfer all the Turkmen farmer lands to the Arab. And the reason behind that, to marginalize the Iraqi Turkmen, especially in the city of Kirkuk, because the overwhelming majority of the population in the 60s, 70s are a Turkmen. But after Arabization policy, the Iraqi government brought 1,000 of Arab from the south of Iraq to Kirkuk. And the Iraqi government used a policy called Arabization policy.
That is before 2000?
Yeah, it was especially in the 70s. Yes. In the 70s. And what they did, they forced the Turkmen people to build houses for the Arab people. And every Arab person who came from south of Iraq was given him yet about 10,000 dinar. At that time, each dinar equivalent to $3. Yes. Therefore, every Arab person who transferred his national identity from south of Iraq to Kirkuk city, he got about $30,000. And plus, they were giving a job and a house. Therefore, the objective to increase the Arab population and reduce the Turkish population, because the majority of the population at that time were Turkish. The root cause, or the main reason behind that, is to prevent in the future might the Turkish people or the Turkmen might ask for independence or to join Turkish Republic. This is the first reason. And the second reason, they were because Kirkuk is one of the richest country or richest town in the world of oil, and the quality of the oil in this town is not very deep. You could get oil within 200 meters. Yeah, it's very special, and the quality is very good and very cheap. And therefore they say Iraq, especially Kirkuk, has got the richest reservoir of oil in Kirkuk. And also what they were thinking, they trying to integrate the Turkmen society into Arabic society. Therefore, they prevented us from have Turkish name. They prevented us to speak in Turkish. They prevented us to be a pilot or officer. Or if we wanted to go to Turkey to study, we are not allowed to go to Turkey to study there. And I remember at that time, they stamped in our passport. You could travel all countries in the world except Israel and Turkey. And Israel, we understand that because they are enemy of the Arabs. About Turkey, doesn't make any sense for us. That's one of the reasons. And during Saddam Hussein time, we call it Arabization policy. What they did, they changed the name of all the Turkish villages to Arabic. They changed all the name of the streets and the schools. We used to have some sort of schools teaching in Turkish language, but after that Saddam Hussein, he decided, said no more to Turkmen school. In the meantime, the oppression and the oppression of the and marginalization of the Iraqi government continued by arresting and execution a large number of the Iraqi Turkmen under excuse that are working for Turkish government, which they call Torani. And a large number of also Turkmen executed without trials. And therefore, the Turkmen suffered a lot under Iraqi government. In the meantime, as I said, the Turkmen are one of the Turkish tribes. And the word Turkmen does mean Turkman. In Turkish, what does mean Turk, which stand words for a Turkish person. Man does me. It does mean I am a Turkish man. But some of the people, they said, oh, the word of Turkish or Turkman is derived from Terjüman, which does means a translator. And later on, instead of they say Terjüman, they say Turkuman. What does means, they said during when during the conquest of the Islamic, they went to the Asia, and some of the people entered to the Islam, and they were translating from other language to the Turkmen language. They said Terjüman, then they said Turkmen. But and
the Turkmen people, they accept the Islam without war.
And then, as I said, the Turkmen people in Iraq are very highly educated and very knowledgeable, and the overwhelming people, they have got very high standard jobs, but unfortunately the Iraqi government marginalized them and they transferred them to the early retirement, and also they were not allowed to study abroad, and also they can't
to buy house. They're not allowed.
That's very important point. During the Arabization policy, what they did, the Iraqi government, they came, they said, okay, this is Turkmen populated area. They have decided to create or to build a road, or they call it motorway. They said to us, okay, we're going to establish or to build a motorway over there. Therefore, what they did, they destroyed or demolished approximately 3,000 Turkmen houses. And after, and they give us compensation money, but under one condition, very little money, we accept that, we don't mind. But unfortunately, they put another condition. They said, you cannot buy land in Kirkuk. You have to buy land somewhere else. That's just, it's very, discrimination policy, just to make sure to reduce the population of the Turkmen in Kirkuk. The another thing, when I finished my university, I try to work in the city of Kirkuk,
yes.
but the government doesn't allow me to work in
yes.
Kirkuk. He said, because you are Turkmen,
yes.
you need to go to south of Iraq. And the reason for that, if I go to south of Iraq, me and my family, all together or alone, I am a young, so that encouraged me to marry an Arab lady,
yes.
so that I will be mixed, integration.
Yes.
And also forced a lot of girls to go to south of Iraq, and they have got a job over there. Therefore, a lot of Iraqi Turkmen married in south of Iraq to Arab people, do you know, because they are not allowed to work in Kirkuk. Do you know, that it was very, do you know, I don't know, it's discrimination against of the Turkmen. All these one, Turkmen accepted that. But during the 70s, and the Turkmen oppression reached to the maximum, you know,
yes.
and a lot of Turkmen people were arrested and executed without a trial. And the interesting thing is that the Turkmen people, if they apply to the military school, they can't work over there. If I want to be a pilot or if I want to be an officer, they don't allow us. Only seldom, very few people, Turkmen people, went to military college or become a pilot. But these people went over there, they were a member of Ba'ath party. That it was a very unfortunate government policy. And in the meantime, what they did also, and all our schools closed, they changed the name of the street, and also prevented us from having Turkish names, and also our villages destroyed. And after a period of time, when they built the motorway, they give us the compensation. They said to us, oh, this road is incorrect. The engineer who tried to destroy or to demolish the road, he made a mistake. The road should be go other way. Again, they destroyed 3,000-4,000 houses.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, recently, yesterday, when I went over, until now, no road was built.
Yes.
And after that, what they did, they brought thousands of Arab to Kirkuk. They increased their population, and we have got all the refinery oil in the city of Kirkuk. There is no single petrochemical manufacturer or petrochemical or refinery or cement or plastic or medicine factory in this area, or car factory. What they did build for us, they built only for prison. Yes. Therefore, Kirkuk was like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It was very good. It was all the people were scared, and a lot of people, you know, frightened, and there was a lot of human abuses. And during, that's a very interesting thing, during the Iraqi-Iranian war, which started, the Iraqi-Iranian war, thousands of Iraqi Turkmen forced to join the war. Yeah, all the majority of the soldiers who died during the war, they were a Turkmen.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will take a little rest. Yes. After then, we will come again. Little rest, and we will come again. Welcome to you again. Mr. Salman, what is the religion and the location and population of the Turkmen?
The religion of the Turkmen are Muslim, but also we have got Christian Turkmen.
But little.
Yeah, but they live in Turkmen castle in Kirkuk. And this Turkmen Christian, we call them Qal'a Gawr. Oh. Qal'a does means in Turkmen language a castle. Gawr does means a Christian. Therefore we call them Qal'a Gawr, does means Christian castle. But these people, Christian people, are Turkmen. But they live in the castle. They have got their own
and they talk in Turkish.
They talk in Turkmen language, and they have the majority of these people were forced by the Iraqi government out of the country, because the castle was deliberately destroyed by the Saddam Hussein government. And recently I went over there. I talked some photos. It's really sad to see such a beautiful.
And even now, it's still broken.
Yeah, it's still
Even
now
still broken.
Still now demolished.
Without building, without anything.
Without anything, and the government didn't do any refurbishment over there. But yesterday I was talking to one of the doctor in Kirkuk. He has been working very hard with the Canadian charity organization, and I have heard of him a very beautiful news. They are going to refurbish the Kirkuk castle, and they are going to make it better. And I was really delighted to hear that's news. And regarding the population, I would like to talk about the Turkmen people also divided. They are Muslim, but they are divided to two sectors, Sunni sector and Shia sector.
Yes.
But we are a Turkmen, we never discriminate between Sunni and the Shia. But unfortunately, after the American occupation, this ideology of Sunni sectarian factor started to occur and appears among the Iraqi society in general, and especially among the Turkmen. And regarding the location of the Turkmen, as I said, their population is approximately between 2 million to 3.5 million. But the majority of the Turkmen people live in three big cities: Erbil, Kirkuk, and Mosul. And as you know that, before the creation of the establishment Iraqi Republic of Iraq, Turkish government used to call it Vilayet Mosul. Vilayet Mosul, what does means that? It does means Kirkuk and Süleymaniye, Erbil, and Mosul and Kirkuk is one wilaya, one part. But after occupation of Iraq by the British government have decided, and to annex, to cut the Turkmen populated from Turkey. Therefore, the Vilayet Mosul was added to Iraq. Therefore, large number of Iraqi Turkmen stayed in Iraq. They didn't go back to Turkey. Therefore, a lot of people, they said, hey, you are a Turkish. No, we are not the remnant of the Ottoman Empire. We are not. But we are a Turkmen. But we are Turks too, because we are one of the Turkish tribe branch. Like if you see Cypriot Turk, Azerbaijani Turk, Kazakh Turk, Uzbek Turk, Iraqi Turkmen Turk. Therefore, the difference between Iraqi Turkmen and Iraqi Turkmen is a Turkmen who living in Iraq, but he is one of the belonging to the Turkish tribe. And the majority of the Iraqi
and the Turkmen not only they live in Kirkuk, in Iraq. You can see in the Syria, in the Jordan.
There are a lot of Turkmen living in Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, especially in Palestine. But also in Iraq, the Turkmen are living as a sandwich between the Kurd in the north and the Arab in the south. Therefore, the Iraqi Turkmen, they live in the northwest of Iraq, and the district of Tel Afar, coming down to Erbil, all the way to the town of Mendili. And Turkmen people, they have area as they call it Kurdistan. The Turkmen people also have got a country called Turkmen Ali. Turkmen Ali, what does means? Turkmen provinces. That's the reason. And as I said, the Turkmen population, there are a large number of Turkmen people over there. And after occupation of Iraq by the American, the majority of the Turkmen people stayed in Iraq, and they didn't move to Turkey. Therefore, they live in Altın Köprü, where I was born, where I was born. Altın Köprü, for instance, I give you an example. stand altun, it does means a gold in Turkmen language. Köprü does means a bridge, which stand golden bridge. Teze hurmatı, teze is new, fresh. Hurma does means date. Sen tuz hurmatı same. Tuz does means in Turkish salt. Hurmatı is a date. Therefore, the majority of Turkmen area kara incir. Kara it does means a black. Incir it does means figs. Therefore, the majority of the town is written is called or named in Turkmen language. But unfortunately, as you know that after the occupation of Iraq, and the American came to Iraq, the American did big mistake. The mistake was that they give the Kurds too much influences. For instance, my town, which I was born, in Altınköprü, they changed the name to other name, and Kurdish name. Yes. And the governor, because of the governor in Kirkuk was appointed by the American, what he decided, change the demography of the Kirkuk. Therefore, what they did, one of his plan was to change the names of all the Turkmen villages to Kurdish name. Therefore, he changed the name of Altınköprü to the Kurdish name. I was very upset about it because it's my hometown where I was born. I was so upset. I have decided to write a book about Altınköprü. And yes,
let's we talk about your books. I know you wrote 7 books in English about the Turkmen.
Yes. My first book was a brief history of the Iraqi Turkmen. The main objective and goal of that book is that to reveal to the world the abuse and the execution and the discrimination and the suffering of the Iraqi Turkmen to the world. And I also showed their population, religious, the history, and the suffering and the execution. It was really very sad to write that book because it was very difficult for me to write it. But finally, I managed to complete the book, which was published in English language and called Brief History of the Iraqi Turkmen.
The books in English, yes, I mean the books in English about the Turkmen very little.
Yes, therefore, and also because there was not enough information about the Iraqi Turkmen, because we haven't got strong media, because we haven't got the
maybe we not have writer writing in English.
Yes, and also we were forbidden by the Iraqi government or other ethnic group to have a book written about the Turkmen in English language or Arabic language, because the government put a big restriction on the Turkmen people. Therefore, the book also give or illustrate where is the Turkmen located, what's the name of the Turkmen, what's their population, religious, and the history, execution. And then after the occupation of Iraq, the Kurds control of the city of Kirkuk. But it was very sad to hear that the Kurds suffered a lot. Yes, under the Saddam Hussein regime.
Yes, that is true.
Yes, and they were suffered, executed, and deported. But what they did to the Turkmen, Saddam Hussein, he didn't do 5% to them. Yeah, it was. What they did, the population of the city of Kirkuk was at that time according to the ration card, because Iraqi government in the city of Kirkuk provided each family in Kirkuk an ID, we call it a ration card. Therefore, government provided food to every family. And it was, I remember, approximately about 700,000, 760 last digit number for the ID card. That means per per the information you could obtain from the government. Showing a last ID card for the ration card is about 760. But after occupation, I call it, not liberation of Kirkuk by the Kurds. I called after occupation of Kirkuk. What the population in Kirkuk increased to 1.7 million. And the Kurds, what they did, first think in their mind, objective, to change the demography of Kirkuk. They wanted to annex, to cut the city of Kirkuk and to include it to this Kurdish.
But they failed.
But no, at the first they tried. Therefore, what happened? The government use some policy. Now, a new era. Instead of Arabization policy, we have got a new policy. What they call it? Kurdification policy.
Yes.
First, what they did, they take over. What do you call it in English? They squid all the Turkmen lands. And they take over all the government building and the government political party. And they brought almost I could say 1 million people from out of the city, from Erbil, Süleymaniye, Turkey, from everywhere, Syria. They brought them over there. And they say, oh, these people were deported by the Saddam Hussein government. But according to the ration card, the number of the people, it should be 700,000 people. But I have got a document. Mr. Barzani said, I don't remember the number. He said about 11,000 Kurdish people deported from Kirkuk, and about how many Turkmen were deported from Kirkuk. Also, the Turkmen were deported by the Saddam Hussein. But to see 1 million people coming, that was very strange to me. For instance, I escaped from Iraq because of my political view. When I came to Kirkuk, I have got my home, because my home in Kirkuk, but it's still here because it's my house, my home. Whereas these Kurdish people who came from Syria, Lebanon, I don't know, from Iran, North Süleymaniye, Erbil, they have no homes, in Kirkuk. Therefore, what they did, they stayed in houses belonging to the Ba'ath government, like military camps, military officer houses, government building. They occupy the houses, other people, and also they stayed in the stadium. If you are really a genuine, honest, a real deportee person, when you come back, you should go to your house. Yes, therefore, these people, they were not a genuine deportee people. They brought them over there by the both Kurdish party, KDP and the other Kurdish party. They brought him over there, and they were supported with money, financial support, to increase their population over there. Therefore,
sorry, we take a little rest and we will come again. Little rest and we will come again. Welcome to you again. Mr. Salman, we talk about the Turkmen after 2003.
Yeah, as I said, after 2003, the Kurdish occupation of the Kirkuk, they changed the demography of the Kirkuk. What they did, in Kirkuk, there was a lot of Turkmen have been arrested, kidnapped, killed, and there was a lot of explosions, bombs everywhere, to frighten the Turkmen, to make them to leave the town. And also a lot of Turkmen lands and houses were occupied and by the Kurds. Yes. And also what they did, the new government, he was extremely dishonest, incompetent in his work. He is very racist. He forced a lot of Iraqi Turkmen director to the retirement position, and also he gave a lot of land to the Kurdish people who never been to Kirkuk. I swear to God, I have got some friends who are living in Erbil because they are a member of Kurdish political party, given a land in Kirkuk, and he never been to Kirkuk. And a lot of land were occupied or controlled in Kirkuk by small paper
Yes.
Written by the court. And another important thing, you remember during the uprising in 1991, the Kurdish people, when entered to Kirkuk, what they did, they went to the deed house.
Yes.
In deed house, they burned the deed house. Why? To make sure nobody has got access to the deed house, because deed office. What does mean? To make sure the Turkmen cannot show the deed of their house. But they didn't do the job properly. When they came second time during the 2003, they went again. They took all the files and document all the deed of the house of the town of the Kirkuk, and they changed the name to their names. And also what they did, they brought thousand employee, like from Sulaimani, Erbil, to make them to work in Kirkuk. They control the health authority, education, and police, security. They terrorized the people over here. Yes. Everybody was terrorized, and everybody was scared of them. It doesn't mean what they have done during their occupation in Kirkuk, Saddam Hussein, he didn't do it. What they have done, the governor of Kirkuk, Dr. Najmuddin Karim, Saddam Hussein, he didn't do it in 35 years. He changed the demography of time. Yes. A lot of Turkmen villages were destroyed, lands were taken. The court controlled everything in Kirkuk. Every person was scared, from the Arab ethnic and Turkmen ethnic. But you know, after that, because the population was so frightened, scared of them, he started using different policy to change the demography of the town. He prevented, I can't believe it, to raise Iraqi flag. There is no law saying that you cannot raise Iraqi flag. He enforced every building in the town to have a Kurdish flag, but the people didn't want that, but he forced it. And after that, he forced the people to have a referendum. We don't want a referendum. He wanted to include the city of Kirkuk to be a part of Kurdistan. But during the referendum, he was going to every office in the hospital using the ambulance. With the ambulance, he's shouting, everybody has to go to a vote. And nobody said, nobody speaking Turkmen language. I said to you, the situation was extremely bad. But what happened? Because his corrupt policy, and he was accused with the bribery, corruption, and a lot of people from Iraq, they prepared a big file against of him regarding the corruption, and he was taken to the court, and the court in Baghdad has decided to dismiss him from his position because he was dishonest and incompetent, and you know, he has no experience in running the city of Kirkuk because he was very narrow-minded. He was only employing the Kurd, whereas forcing the Turkmen and the Arab not to have any job. A lot of Turkmen people, they were given a job by the government, but their file was not approved by the governor because they were a Turkmen. The corruption was maximum, reached its peak. But unfortunately, after the hard work of some of the Iraqi Turkmen MPs and some other Turkmen organization, and I would like to say I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to MP of Iraqi Turkmen MP Niyazi Mehmet. He did a tremendous and fantastic and wonderful job against of the governor of Kirkuk, and finally he filed a big document in the court against of him. The court in Baghdad, he has decided to dismiss the governor of Kirkuk. But the problem was that he was backed by the two big Kurdish party. He didn't implement or he didn't carry out the court decision from Baghdad. But later on, because the situation went very bad in Kirkuk, and the Iraqi government, central government, has decided it's enough, especially after the Kurdish regional government in north of Iraq decided with the help of American government and Israeli government to have a referendum. When they have the referendum passed, but the Iraqi government was not happy. Yes. Turkish government was not happy. Iran was not happy. The population in Kirkuk, especially the Turkmen and the Arab and the Christian, we have got a lot of Christian, Ashurian, Kildarian, and Armen. All of them, they were not happy. Therefore, Iraqi government sent forces against the Kurds.
2016.
Yes, 2016. Therefore, when the Iraqi forces in 2016 came to Kirkuk, the Kurds left Kirkuk within 4 hours. Yes. 4 hours. They couldn't put any resistance. They couldn't fight. They ran away. Thousands of Kurds ran away with their families, cars. But when they left the Kirkuk, this Najmuddin, the governor of Kirkuk, he took all the machinery, cars, and he approximated $10 million from the Kirkuk council, and they ran away to the Erbil. And also a lot of Iraqi Turkmen were kidnapped. Until now there were no news of them. If really, in my opinion, if really the Turkmen, if this town, it was belonged to the Kurds, they will fight for it. But they didn't fight because not belong to them. Yes, if it was my town, I will fight for it. They couldn't resist 4 hours. Although these Kurdish, which call it Peshmerga, were provided with latest military equipment. They were highly trained by the American, by British, and they couldn't put resistance. The reason for that, because it's not their homeland. If it was my homeland, I will fight for it. And that was that day 2000, after the liberation of Kirkuk, I call it, people, they didn't stand against of the Iraqi troop. The Iraqi troop were welcomed with the flowers, water, and since then there is no single explosion, security, stability, and that is really important. As also regarding, you mentioned about my book, I wrote about...
Before you talk about your books, how you saw Kirkuk this time?
Well, to be honest with you, Kirkuk now is different. I could have more freedom, and I could have more freedom and better stability, no bomb, no explosion, and yes, it's good. And also there is equality, fairness, and justice, and there is no frightening, no kidnapping, no arrest, no assassination. Before every day explosion. Yes, why we don't have any explosion? Why all the explosion happen in Turkmen populated area? I never heard any explosion or suicide bomb in Kurdish area. Have you ever heard one? No. Why until now? None. It put a big question. It does mean the Kurdish parties were responsible mainly or partially, or they were behind all this explosion. And that's my personal opinion.
Yes, that is true. What about others, your books?
Well, as I said, I wrote my first...
You said you have 7 books.
Yes, I wrote my first book about brief history of the Iraqi Turkmen. My second book of Turkmen of Iraq. This second book is well documented about the oppression, and this is based on really documented documents which obtained from Secret Service and from the Iraqi government. It's well documented. That means every line which I wrote based on documentation. And my third book, it was very interested. One day I was coming from Baghdad. I stopped in Tuzhurmati, and Tuzhurmati is Turkmen town. Yes. Turkmen town. Yes. And I read an article written by some Kurdish guy stating that Tuzhurmati is Kurdish town, blah blah blah. It's all giving fake information about the town. Because if you are a journalist, you have to be honest. Yes. If you are honest, you have to reveal the reality, the truth, because you can't lie. You can't lie. It's important to be truthful. Therefore, I have decided to write a book about Tuzhurmati. Therefore, I wrote a book, The Turkmen City of Tuzhurmati, to reveal to the world that...
You wrote about the Altın Köprü?
Yes, and before I talk, then after that, what I did, after the 2003, because thousands of Iraqi Turkmen were executed, kidnapped, killed, abused, arrested, imprisonment, I have decided to write a book about a report about Kurdish abuse in Turkmen Ali. Kurdish abuse in Turkmen Ali. This book is documented by photos, letters, everything, and that book will be a very useful book to be used by the human rights, showing the oppression or to reveal the oppression of the Iraqi Kurdish parties. By the way, I'm not against of the Kurds. I love the Kurdish people, yes. But the Kurdish party's policy is wrong. Do you know what I mean? The Kurdish people are nice. Yes. We live with them as a friend. They are like our brother and sister. But the policy used by the Kurdish parties, both of them, yeah, after the occupation of Kirkuk, they were trying to change the demography of Kirkuk. They tried to, annex the town of Kirkuk to Kurdistan, which is not acceptable. After that,
we must not forget the Basque government.
Yes.
Killed many people, Turkmen peoples.
Well, yes. Yes.
We must not forget that.
And you remember I wrote in 1991 during the uprising, the Kurdish people entered to Kirkuk, yes. They steal everything, they ran away, and then Turkmen people in Altyn Köprü suffered
1991.
Yeah, Turkmen people were executed without trial, yes. And then now you could see their bodies, all of them in Altyn Köprü. And after that,
it was genocide.
Yeah, it was a big genocide. And also I wrote another book because the oppression of the Kurdish continuous. I wrote very important book, and I was thinking to take that book to the UN to reveal the oppression of the Iraqi Kurd against the Turkmen. And the book was called The Plight of the Iraqi Turkmen. And that book published, and I given copy of that book to one of the museum in Azerbaijan. And also I wrote a book, as I said, A Brief History of Iraqi Turkmen and the Turkmen of Iraq, the Turkmen city of Tuzhurmatu, The Plight of the Iraqi Turkmen, and another book about Altyn Köprü. But currently I wrote a book about Altyn Köprü because some Kurdish party changed the name to show incorrect information about the city. That's made me to write the book about that. Currently I am writing a book about a brief history about the city of Tuzhurmatu and the names of the Turkmen poets in Arabic. Yeah, and also I'm writing a book, also is not published, almost finished, about history of Erbil. History, by the way, history of Erbil is not Erbil, it was a Turkmen town. Yes. But because of the Saddam Hussein policy, during the Arabization policy, they forced the Kurdish rebel from the mountains. There is no enough place for them. They came to Erbil. Now they start pushing the Turkmen out of the town, and they occupied of the city Erbil. Yeah, and also same thing. During the Kurdish rebellion against of the Ba'ath regime, thousands of Kurds, they moved to Tuzhurmatu. And Tuzhurmatu, after that they say, oh, the town is belong to us, but that's not reality. Also, currently I am writing very important books, which is called The Turkmen and the Israeli and the Kurdish aspiration in the city of Kirkuk. The book is about 517 pages and based on a lot of documents and the pictures. It is a very comprehensive book, and I was giving a large number of these documents by the Turkmen ex-MP Niyazi Mehmet, and I was delighted to have that document. All these documents have been translated to English, and it shows amazing information in that one. And also, as you know that the Kurdish parties brought PKK terrorist organization to the town. Yes. And that means, would you like to see Turkish government bring Bin Laden group to the town? No. And I have got a document, a real document, signed by one of the Kurdish police officer who is responsible on the city of Kirkuk. He said, we have no objection. I have got the document. If you want it, I show it to you. Original document, he signed. He said, I have no objection for the PKK to open office in the sub-district of Dabbak. And you know, as you know, that PKK is terrorist organization. It's in the list of the terrorist organization in European countries and the American companies and Turkish government.
Thank you very much, writer and researcher, Turkmen writer and researcher, Mr. Moufak Salman.
Thank you
we wish all the best for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
very
too.
much for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. We will see you again next time. Goodbye.